Hey, this is Molly. Welcome back to my YouTube channel as we take another look at an astrological transit that was happening this time in 1974. Now, this chart is for June 1974. And so if you were born before or after that, you could also have this particular energy in your natal birth chart. And what we're looking at here is Saturn in Cancer squaring Pluto in Libra. Now, the square means a challenge, difficulty, tension. It also means an area of wonderful potential for growth. So let's look at this energy and break it down a bit. Here we have Saturn in Cancer. Cancer is one of the most sensitive and softest astrological signs. It's associated with the home, your mother, your needs, trusting yourself, your emotional world. And Saturn is the energy of maturity, responsibility. This can apply to your father. So this could be an archetypal energy associated with your father. Because it involves the Cancer energy, you could also have experienced this energy through your mother. And with this Saturn in Cancer, there could have been a sense that during your childhood, you had to mature early. There's things that you weren't fully in your own innocence. Something happened that was a serious life change that affected how you felt safe in the world and how you trusted others, maybe how you trusted your caregivers, you trusted your parents, who you went to or who was around you, and whether or not there was a sense of emotional safety. Now, what I advise is that with this energy of Cancer, you then look to your own moon, your natal moon sign, for what you need to feel safe, how you trust yourself, and how you experience your energy on a daily basis. Because the Saturn energy here brings a seriousness to childhood, something that you had to learn or understand at an early age, like a loss of innocence, a loss of naivete. It could have been something that matured you, emotionally matured you, that maybe you weren't even quite ready for. And as we look at this energy, there was a sense of if your parents were emotionally distant, if your parents were working a lot and not around, if there was some kind of emotional void that you had to fill in and you didn't know how, or you didn't know what that meant even. And so this is where it's interesting to look back on your childhood at how this energy emotionally shaped you and formed you, and how you maybe didn't trust. That Cancer energy wants to trust, but that Saturn energy is skeptical. And there could have been something in your childhood where you weren't able to trust the adults, the caregivers, the parents, the people around you for what you needed. Like there was a sense of, we got to take on this work. We got to do this. This is what's important. This is what matters. Almost like there wasn't a time or space for the comforts of that Cancer energy, for the softness. There was almost like no room to be vulnerable or open. So this is important to look at and just determine if this is true for you. Because this Cancer energy, this Saturn in Cancer, was squaring this Pluto in Libra off and on. And this is a square of tension because that Pluto in Libra is how you do relationships. Pluto is also about power, how you feel powerful, how you feel ready to share, or if you feel closed off. What I sense with this energy, and of course this is going to be just vague, so determine if it applies to you, is that you might not feel safe to open up and be yourself in relationships. There could be an internal or external power dynamic at play because you didn't have the safety and nurturing you needed when you were younger. And so then that shows up in your connections and your relationships with others, which is that Libra energy where we connect, we share. And so there could be something here where you've been afraid of the intimacy or going deeper into a vulnerability of who you are because you didn't feel safe. There was something missing that you needed to receive. And what I'm feeling around this is that it was the lack of receiving what you needed that perhaps shaped how you have experienced relationships. Now, I recommend that you look at your Venus, your natal Venus sign, because Venus is the ruler of Libra, and it will reveal more about what you are looking for in connections with others, how you relate, how you share. Now, this isn't just romantic relationships, it's all connections. It's how you interact with people. There can be the energy of being very guarded, of not opening up, of needing your space, needing your time, which can be very healthy. It's not to say this is unhealthy. There's different parts in your growth where you maybe have realized this or see some patterns in your relationships that have showed you more about how you relate and where you have a guard up or like a very high fence or wall that's actually protecting the inner child. So this could be work around the inner child, around what you took on or observed through your parents, caregivers, elders, and what you're understanding that you really need that you just didn't get as a child. And so this shows up through relationship dynamics with this square that is a push-pull. It's tension. It's almost like, I don't know if I want to open up. I don't know if I can trust. There's a big theme here around trust in relationships that you're learning. You're learning it in a very big way. This is karmic energies, karmic relationship patterns. This can also be related to karmic parents too, where perhaps in a previous lifetime the roles were reversed and you were the parent. And this time around, now you're the child and your parents are the ones who raised you. I feel there's just karmic energies here that are showing you your own relationship dynamics and how you're here to take responsibility for what you need. And there's maturity here. Every 7 years of your life would have been a very big deal. When you were 7, when you were 14, 21, 28, very big times in your life when this energy would have been very active, because it means that the Saturn energy moved forward, and then the Saturn conjunct your Pluto around 7, 8 years of age, something very powerful and life-changing. Then when you were 14, there would have been the Saturn opposition, which would have matured you. Something outside of your control was a challenge, a big deal, a life event. Because every time you have a Saturn square, it's also working with this Pluto. That is permanent life changes. You could have had some really big things happening in your life every 7 years. So that might be an interesting thing to look back on. Because there is a cycle here of ongoing growth and maturity that's more intense than most people. I want to validate that. This is a big deal. Your life path has held more than other people with this energy in your chart. There's big things you're moving through in this life, even if others don't know about it, which, by the way, the Saturn in Cancer can be very private. Very private. I'm not letting you in. I'm not going to let you know how I feel. And I feel like, this would be something to assess for yourself, because what I'm feeling too is that if you didn't feel secure, safe, open when you were younger, that carries into relationship dynamics, and you could have developed, perhaps out of necessity, out of a defense mechanism, what's known as the avoidant attachment style, where you avoid intimacy. You avoid getting close, you avoid letting people in, you are avoiding parts of yourself that you didn't receive love for when you were younger. And that avoidance style is what made you feel powerful, where you were in control, even unconsciously. So of course, I'm being general here. It's something to determine for yourself. But there's an intensity here around relationships, around trust dynamics, around how you feel safe in the world and what you're learning about that. And this is where the Saturn return, when you were 28 or 30, maybe is when you were ready to put down roots. That Cancer energy wants roots. It wants stability. It wants to know where to go at the end of the day. Again, every 7 years, 0, 7, 14, 21, 28 to 30, so on, is significant for you and how this energy is moving through you and maturing. And that's why you want to look at your natal moon sign, since the Cancer energy is ruled by the moon, to get more insights into what you need. Because basically in this lifetime, you are becoming the parent you didn't have. You are becoming the caregiver. You are becoming the source of love that your inner child didn't receive. Maybe you've been doing a lot of inner child work. Maybe you're aware of this. Maybe this is something that has been a theme for you. This can make you an even better parent. Like you're aware of what you didn't have, right? The voids. And so you're committed to providing for your children more of what they need because you didn't have it. So again, there can be growth through lack and growth through scarcity. Now, when we have this Pluto energy, it's often strong power dynamics in relationships. And it's where you're aware of how your consciousness is growing through your interactions with other people. Where maybe you have to experience something to see it, to get it, to understand it, and then it clicks, and then the shift happens. The Pluto in Libra generation is how relationships transform us. And it's how we learn and we apply our lessons. And there can be a lot of relationships that you have because you're learning a lot of different things about yourself. And you want to be mindful if you are growing in your consciousness in relationships, or if you're on a karmic loop, right? Where you're going through the same thing, the same cycle. It's just with a different person every time. So there's a lot of growth here around trusting yourself, trusting your needs. And as this energy shifts, you then start to attract completely different people. You then declare, I only allow safe, nurturing, trustworthy people into my life. And that's where you're then really growing. I feel like this is a growth trajectory that clears out energies from multiple lifetimes. Again, there's a lot of karma here. There's a lot of karmic energies that are being worked out, and it can feel pretty bumpy at times. There could be loss. You could have experienced a lot of loss as a teacher of energies, as a teacher of what's eternal and how the love never dies. So I realize this is a tough energy. And if you have any natal planets working with this square, it's going to feel more personal. So if you have planets or points working with the Saturn or Pluto, planets or points in Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, the energy is going to be more intense for you. However, what you can do is look for the trines, the energies that are supporting the Saturn in Cancer. So the trines would be through the water signs of Scorpio and Pisces, or the trines here for Pluto would be through the air signs of Gemini and Aquarius. And the trines are the outlets that move the energy, that get it flowing, that provide a new way of understanding or seeing something. So again, you want to know your moon sign to know what you really need, what your innermost security and safety needs might be. And then you also want to look at your Venus for what you're learning in relationships and what you need to receive to feel loved, respected, and valued. This energy shifts. This energy shifts as you raise up in consciousness and understand your own patterns, cycles, or where you've been stuck, because that square is where the energy can go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it hardens. So you can check in and see if your heart has been hardened, if something has been hardened to your needs, your inner child, and it could be then that there's a crack in your outer shell. There's a crack in something that opens you up to even more, where you're trusting yourself more, you're loving yourself more, you're accepting yourself more. And it's coming from a place of soul power, where this is an evolutionary lifetime for you in a very big way of how to trust yourself and be the source of what you need, how to take care of your own emotional needs, what matters to you in terms of home, security, where you put down roots, family matters. This can be the desire that you really want a family. You want the family you didn't have. It can be the opposite, where you're not interested in a family. You're not interested in some things. It just doesn't, you'd rather work, or there's other things you'd rather do. So there's always the extreme in the spectrum of energies. And of course, this is just general, but perhaps it's giving you some insights into what you've learned, especially now that you're in your 40s, your mid 40s, as I do this video in 2021. There's a lot of wisdom that can be gained through the years. And you just had your last Saturn opposition. That would have been in about 2018 or 2019, depending on the degree points here. The Saturn opposition would have been working with this Pluto. So there would have been some other big life changes. Again, for you, the 7-year cycle is always going to be a big deal. But as you progress, you learn the themes. You know more of what's coming up for you. So then you understand it. There's more responsibility. There's more of an understanding of, okay, I can see what the themes are in my life around family, home, relationships, connections, partnerships, and how am I willing to do it differently? Because these are cardinal signs. Cancer and Libra are cardinal signs. So there's a sense of I'm willing to begin again. I'm willing to do this new. I'm willing to try this differently. And that's another way to approach this energy, is what you're progressively learning throughout the seasons of your life. So I hope this has been helpful in understanding this particular astrological aspect. I do apply this to your natal birth chart, although it could be that you remember this particular year in your life and what the energies were. But this video is designed to be for those born with this energy in their chart who are working with this throughout their life. So thank you so much for joining me. Please check out my other videos where I talk about other astrological energies and transits by years. And in the meantime, I hope that you will enjoy more of my YouTube playlists and anything else that interests you here on my channel. Thank you so much for your comments, your likes, your subscribes, and I'll see you back here soon.